Hello and welcome to CTN. To learn more about this show, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. And today's topic is the people side of cybersecurity, turning organizations' weakest link into their greatest strength. What are we talking here? Quite a few organizations and leaders in security would say that people are the weakest link. So we have been investing in educating people. We try to do programs and do training on security risks. We also, as part of the strategy of adoption, we try to identify and then build cybersecurity champions who would get other people involved and get them perhaps to adopt security practices. Then we also introduce incentive programs so that we come up with that security first behaviors, which we all would love to see adopted and embraced by the user community. All of that tried, the results, many report that they are not the most desirable one. We can definitely improve. And some people go even further to say, hey, you know what? It proves that computers are designed to be the secure ones, whereas people are not. How much truth is to that? And if that's the case, can we do better? How can we make security the very foundation embedded into the very DNA of an organization? And then make sure that we allow the organization to grow with confidence while building trust at the speed of change. To discuss this, we have James Johnson, who's the Chief Information Security Officer with John Deere. Hey, James, how are you?
Good. How are you, sir?
Very good. Lovely having you. We have Abiodun Morolari, who's the Chief Information Security Officer with the City of Toronto, Canada. Hey, Abi, how are you?
Hi, Sanjog.
Great to have you. And we also have John Worden, Assistant Vice President for Security, Compliance, and Risk Management, and the Chief Information Security Officer at the Miami University. Hey, John, how's life?
It's going great, Sanjog.
Great to have all of you, such an amazing panel here. So let's start with you, James. You know, anyone we would hire in an enterprise, of course, as part of our hiring practices, or invariably whosoever ends up being in an organization would be educated, would be knowledgeable, would be experienced, and also, hopefully, if trained well and given the right environment, they will also be conscious about their responsibilities. But then, with such a DNA or such personalities in the background of people, what makes them vulnerable to security risks, sometimes ignorant as well?
So first of all, thanks a lot for having me on the podcast. Excited to be here. I think there's several things that I think affect our employees when they're having issues detecting threats that come in via email, phishing threats, those types of things. The first one is they're in a hurry. Second, you can be distracted. I think there are some compelling topics that often come into when people do this. They're very good at targeting a company or targeting the time, like the quarter or compliance training due date. We've seen serious attacks in those spaces. The challenge is that we're very busy. We get a lot of different inputs into our lives, especially our digital lives. And trying to manage that and be aware all the time is a challenge. We have to make part of the with the Deere, we really focused on trying to change the culture. So it's not just about get good at phishing simulations, get good at spotting those types of things. It's really about helping people understand why this is important to them at home and in their personal lives. That's how we approach the John Deere.
Yeah, go ahead.
Sanjog, I'd like to add something. I agree with James 100%. Another aspect I like to think about, one of the quotes I saw by Sarah Baza from Boss Hunting magazine, she said, "Trust is programmed into our genes. We're the only species born completely useless who solely rely on others for care. The default assumption is that people are decent and harmless and key to our survival." So in addition to what James stated, is we instinctively want to trust as humans as well. We're expected to trust the police. We trust our doctors, our leaders, the food at the supermarket, other cars on the road. So it takes a lot of effort to counter that embedded trust and empathy and concern for others, to be cautious, to be concerned, to look out for being duped. And I also think that most employees assume that their security force is already protecting them with policies and controls in place. So I think that the trust plays a role in the vulnerabilities.
Abhi, you've lived in both sides, right? Public and private. What's been your diagnosis, if you will?
Yeah, thanks, Sanjog. And John and James both made excellent point in terms of the human nature. I think it also boils down to the other factors of the inherent human nature and also the emotions that we all have of curiosity, fear, and greed. And some of these bad threat actors, they play on these emotions. So curiosity, for example, you are very eager to find out the latest story they're proposing in that email. And of course, fear as well. Your account is going to be shut down if you don't click this link. And greed, you've won a lottery. You need to click on this link as well. So human emotions has nothing to do with the level of education or whatever role you play. And because it's human nature, it's a very difficult thing to actually get traction on in terms of addressing, except we made it muscle memory. So for people to have it in their brain all the time. Now, again, on the flip side of that is the rapidly changing threat environment. So these days, most organizations are going hybrid, and that is opening up a sort of world of threat landscape that people are also not used to. And we as security professionals should also look at that angle in terms of proposing specific trainings that will help people just to make sure cybersecurity and security at large is top of mind for every individual in the organization.
Now, so Abhi, when you talk about this, they themselves are aware that I could have greed or I could be excited, etc. But that means their human tendencies are almost every time overriding any training or anything that you impart to these people. Is why this is happening, or do you think we can do a better job of us overriding their natural tendencies? So this almost becomes like a tug of war or a race, or there's a tussle between the two sides.
Absolutely, Sanjog. I think what we need, once we are cautious of the fact that does exist in terms of the challenges our users face, then we need to make sure that we are running targeted training to help them overcome some of those emotions. For example, the training should be targeted to the roles the individual play in the organization. So if I'm running a cyber awareness and training program, the engineers who work in the field should have some sort of different kind of training than the person who sits in the office as an admin officer who send maybe 3 emails in a day, for example. Because when we make it directed to their daily activity and even their personal life as well, it's easier for people to identify with that. And that also helps them in terms of their muscle memory as well. So I think we can help our users sort of make it top of mind and help them overcome some of these emotions. We cannot eliminate it 100%, but we can train and help people by also making sure those cyber trainings are targeted to the environment and their specific conditions as well.
John, based on what Abhi said, how realistic is it for you to discuss, design, and deploy a fit-for-purpose training, which is almost doing a surgical strike on the psyche of those individuals who are assuming different roles, and then be able to see incremental changes in behavior? Just to get a regular broad stroke security program itself, to get it underway is a challenge for many. Can we realistically deliver on what Abhi is suggesting?
I think we can. I think we do have busy and overburdened employees. They have their own jobs to worry about. The malicious actors, they know that's the case. They know that there's weaknesses in their armor that they can attack. But I think it's in agreement with Abhi, it's optimum that we build a culture of cybersecurity awareness. I think a lot of folks do it. We share articles when we see scams, when we see phishing. We try to let people know. We hold National Cybersecurity Awareness Month and other training events. We use simulated phishing training program. We have our click rates in the double digits. We're currently trying to get down into the single digits across our divisions and colleges at the university. We also put in place a monthly cadence of meeting with cybersecurity champions across the university, and that's That's interested people, 50 to 60 or so across the different divisions and colleges that we meet with monthly to share with them updates, awareness tips. We bring in guest speakers from FBI, Homeland Security, and we share that information with them, try to keep them interested and excited about it. And they seem to have been coming back for over a year and a half now. So there's interest. And what that does, it plants the seeds for that awareness. And those folks then take it back to their cubicles and their offices and their coworkers, and they can start to share that information to try to build that culture. In higher education, we have a central IT organization, but we also have distributed IT folks in the different colleges and divisions. And we meet with them once a month as well to include them in our policies and our strategy for our cybersecurity programs so that we are broadening the awareness.
James, you got global organization, quite a few personas in terms of business, technology, supply chain, you name it. Taking Abi's idea, then what John is saying, the kind of tactics that they may have deployed. All of that, I'm sure you must be trying and or doing many of these things. What really moves the needle? You can do a bunch of things, but what really moves the needle where you start seeing signs that these guys are getting a wake-up call or they are behaving better?
The first of all, we have, I think, most of those things. I love the approach, and I don't envy John trying to do this in a university environment. That's a real challenge. I work with Iowa State and just heard about how challenging that can be in that space. But from our perspective, a couple of things. The first thing is you have to make it easy to report. We've done a lot to have really simple ways to report phishing campaigns or things that they're seeing that they're concerned about. So if you have a question, just report to us. We'll get back to you quickly and let you know if it's legitimate or not. We also, when they report about it, we follow up. We beg, thank you so much for reporting this. You're able to remove this threat from our environment in a very fast time period. Thanks to you reporting. We'll send them some swag, a coin. We find ways to celebrate. But I also think our team's done a really nice job of building kind of, if you will, a motto. And the motto is, you're the shield. We all look at our employees and we think that they're the weakest link. They're also the best solution we've got. They are the fingers and the toes. They feel things first. And if they can let us know when things are happening and we get alerted early, we can stop a lot of threats. So we have a goal that when we have something reported to us, a 50 campaign is legitimate, we want to remove from our environment within 4 hours, 24/7, 365. And we're actually beating that pretty well. We're under 2 hours now, I think, is our last quarter metric. We make that very visible to our board of directors as well. This is a metric we actually share from a culture standpoint with our CEO, our leadership team, and also the board of directors. So I think making it visible, making it easy to report, and then helping our employees understand that they are part of the solution, not part of the problem, and why it's important that they're part of that team.
So based on what your response is, James, Abi, what should be expectation or what should the security leadership and or security team expect from people? To what degree should they be vigilant? To what degree should they be reporting stuff? What degree should they behave for you to say, okay, we have reached our holy grail, or at least we are close to it? There has to be some benchmark, right?
I think we've set targets within DEAR. I think our goal would 90% of our employees, when they get a phishing campaign, either report it or delete it. We'd like them to report it. And we're doing pretty well. I wouldn't say we're all the way there yet, but people are going to make mistakes. We have compensating controls. Other things we need to catch malicious things that are happening. We've got other controls on endpoints. So as we went to remote work, having endpoint detection was very important for us as well. It isn't just about the people. There's other things we can do. And there's never going to be an end of it, right? This is always about raising the bar. When our metrics get really good, we start sending out more challenging phishing campaigns because we want to continue to build that muscle memory and make our employees stronger and make them always thoughtful and thinking about what's happening, and be curious as to what other folks in the call think about what they're doing and what their targets are as well.
Absolutely, James. I think you just hit the nail on the head. Now, one thing is we always chase after continuous improvement because I'm not sure we'll ever be 100%. We keep on trying to improve as we go along. It's very important for us not to lose sight of the numbers and percentage of security-related incidents that have been reported by the users. Because as we continue training the users, they become more aware, they'll become more confident in identifying what they feel are either phishing emails or any other sort of security-related incidents that they then report. Once we start seeing those numbers creep up, then we know that some of the trainings we've been delivering is already delivering some of the goods for us. Now, we also look at random percentage of strong credentials. So when we start seeing people use very strong credentials, for example, we see that some of those trainings, which are the easiest, password, your MFAs, and we see the way people are using them in terms of the strength, we also can gauge that our cyber awareness program is also hitting the marks. Now, there are a couple of things that we also consider that will increase the chances of success, because if we keep doing targeted communication, we ensure that business and real world relevant trainings are included, and we are very nimble. We can pivot quickly. So during the COVID-19, where people have to go work from home and people are still working in hybrid, for example, we include content that also describe a change in the environment where people are logging in, because then people are logging from their homes, coffee shops, and the rest. So we are able to pivot the program as well so that it remains fresh and relevant to the people as well. In general, we just need to keep tracking the numbers of incidents and phishing emails reported, and also the percentage of strong credentials we keep seeing in the system, just to know that we're tracking in the right direction.
John, when you look at who we have as people, yeah, they have the right background and education, etc., as I mentioned. You train them a little bit. But then of course, you've got limited resources. No matter how big the organizations, it's only so much money you can put into security. And you are having a match against people who have God knows how much more money, how many more resources, and they are so relentless and they're hell-bent on cracking through it. Is this truly a match we could win, or at most keep taking care of our bruises so that we get more bruises later?
I think that's a great question, Sanjog. We do expect a lot from our users. They're busy, overburdened, and the malicious actors know this. We hinted on it earlier. We see that in the as a primary tactic for the old business email compromise attack, where they send a phishing email or an email that's spoofed, that's pretending to be their supervisor or their boss, asking for them to get gift card codes or money, sending money. We just recently, in the last 2 weeks, experienced something brand new. We experienced a BEC type attack, a business email compromise attack via Google Chat. We're a Google office here, a Google shop, and we saw the first Google Chat message that was from a domain that was outside our own university domain, but appeared to be close to it. And they started out, "Are you available or on campus today?" The malicious actor, the bad actor, has learned that there's another avenue. We've taught them, we've shared awareness tips on how to recognize emails, and now we've had to start our campaign up to inform our folks and inform our constituents about that they could be attacked via Google Chat. So that was a big event. It was a shock to us, and something that shows that they are a match for us. We're going to get bruises, we're going to feel it, but we are persistent. We're persistent, and we continue to look for what the challenges are inside and outside the university, and then try to keep our folks as aware as possible.
James, like we talk about omni-channel marketing, right? Where we want to tackle a customer. It's almost intuitive for an intruder to try all possible channels where you're not your customer, you're someone who's more like a prey. So is security seeing it in that way to secure you from all channels?
I think we're doing our best to do that. We see similar attacks coming in with some, I would say, not great, deep fake, or those types of things, basically voice modulation, those types of things coming in. What's interesting is this is about situational awareness, right? Teaching our employees, whatever the channel is, whatever the communication mechanism is, you just ask themselves the question before they click on something or respond to something. Is this how the CEO, the board reaches to me in activity, or is this how someone would be reaching out? And our goal is not just at work, but also if you get a weird email about your credit card, don't call the number in the email, call the number about your credit card. So it's just about being situationally aware, being intelligent in a day and age where everything could be fraud. And I do think that when it comes to advanced persistent threats, nation state, no company is going to be able to survive that. If they come after you, it's going to be very challenging to stop all those different attacks, different mechanisms, especially with all the different communication mechanisms we have today. Well, different solutions that are in front of us at our PCs every day. I think that's part of it. We also try to make it fun for people. So our team's done some cool stuff with like escape rooms, teaching our employees in escape rooms, different things of password management more effectively, and also find the clues, if you will, and things that come across in email or other communication.
So, James, when you try to teach all of this, and there was a component of a busy and overworked and overburdened employee, and you're expecting situational awareness. I'm not saying that is impossible, but that, in a way, because the way we make our employees work, but the way these people are, they're busy.
And the team got me last year on a phishing campaign. So it's possible to catch people off guard, especially when you've done things that look legitimate and the timing is right from that perspective makes it challenging. And the culture of your company can also be a weapon that's used by adversaries to more effectively target your company. So companies that are all about compliance, they might target you with compliance emails. Like, this training was due yesterday, you better get straight, since it's going to be escalated tomorrow to the next level above you. You better get it. Those types of things, different companies can be a challenge.
Abhi, talk about the size of the organization. You are dealing with a huge organization, which lots of citizens who, in some form or fashion, or maybe even the employee base, they are working in an organization. Could you do a comparison and or a contrast against the private sector who may have different construct, if you will, in the which security needs to be managed? And what are you doing different, new, or more?
Thanks, Sanjol. I think, like you said, the complexity and size of organizations matters. I will describe our own current situation. So as a municipality, the city of Toronto is the fourth largest in North America, the largest in Canada, and we have 44 divisions within the city. And one of those divisions, by the way, is Toronto Water, who makes billions of dollars in revenue and with more than 4,000 employees on its own. So you could actually list Toronto Water on the stock exchange. And then we have the small matters of over 30 agencies and corporations that is also under the purview of my office as well. Now, within those divisions, you have a fire department, you have water, like I said, transportation, you have finance, you have corporate IT. So you have a mix of different businesses and personas that you also need to address their needs. One of the things that have worked for us in managing that sort of complex, large organization of more than 33,000 employees is making sure that those trainings are done with empathy. We need to put ourselves in the situation and position of the businesses that we are targeting. For example, the trainings that we're going to be doing for SCADA unit engineers is going to be a little bit different from the training we'll be doing for finance folks, for example. So it's a lot of work. It's a lot of iteration, but it's something that needs to be done, especially in a large and complex organization, for us to be able to build our muscle memory and also achieve the best result. Now, the other part is also the fact that when we talk about users, we sometimes assume that the system administrators, the network admins, will know exactly what to do when they see phishing emails. We've seen in practice that is usually not the case. So we're also targeting those level of users that have privileged access with specific security trainings as well, just to make sure that the folks who hold the keys to the kingdom themselves are also kept on their toes and they are aware of what could go wrong in their own environment as well.
Let's take a quick break, listeners. We'll be right back after these messages. And when we come back, so John, let's talk about additional checks and balances that an organizational needs to put in. So yeah, we all discussed about the different cool things we can do to get people to be motivated to become vigilant. But people not always do what you expect, they do what you inspect. So what kind of inspection do you do, and how accurately can you do that inspection to make sure that they are being vigilant? Because once the damage is done, it's done. You want to prevent that. That means you are doing proactive check, if you will, if these people are up to speed so they will not become the weakest link for the next breach that might occur. Please stay tuned, listeners. We'll be right back.
Today, enterprise technology is both strategic and global. Each week on CTN CIO Talk Network, IT thought leaders from around the world share their experience with listeners as they discuss with Sanjog Aul how they are trimming costs and partnering with business to innovate and help IT become more competitive, better care for customers, and improve the corporate bottom line. If you want to keep up with IT thought leadership, listen to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul at CIOTalkNetwork.com. You are listening to CTN CIO Talk Network with Sanjog Aul. To learn more about our program, please visit CIOTalkNetwork.com. Now, back to the show.
Welcome back. John, do you have a check-in with people? Do you have a mechanism where you, number one, check, okay, what's the effectiveness of my program? And secondly, are people continually staying vigilant and they're not dropping the ball, and which may be otherwise creating a vulnerable situation for the whole organization? What would those be, if at all you could put one in place or you've put it in place?
Yes, Sanjog, thank you. I think first I'll mention the simulated phishing training we have. We do hit every division across the university. It takes about 3 months to hit every division. And we use that as a kind of a metric to see where we are. And as James had stated, that we try to increase the difficulty as they get better at it. I think the more realistic and more informative metric that we use, and also James mentioned, was the monitoring of our information security email address, where we ask folks to send us suspicious emails, scams, phishing, anything they have a question about. And then what we do in addition to that is we answer them individually, and we try to focus on the strong performers over the poor performers when it comes to training and awareness. We find that reinforcing good behavior is the best tactic. People want to hear that they're doing a great job. So we let them know when they've informed us about something that we appreciate it, that we're taking action on it. And they relish in that, and they continue to share with us. And then they'll share that with other folks. They'll tell other folks, their coworkers, that, hey, you should send that to the InfoSec guys. They really take care of us when we're out there. So reinforcement is used. We try not to use form responses if we can get away with it to our senders that send those in, because those are just boring and in that. So we try to communicate with them, let them know we appreciate it. And I think that's the two models that we use.
James, if you have put things in place, are you able to, with confidence, say that whatever checks and balances that you put in there, they are allowing you to incrementally move towards your goal, and that is where you have tangible measures coming out of it versus a hunch that things are going well?
I think continuous improvements always going to be there. We put a lot of thought we put them in place because they really are trying to measure the culture of our company. Are we situational aware? Are we reporting things that look suspicious? And I agree with what John said 100%. Like, we've got to find ways. We try. We use swag. We have direct communication with users that report things that are valid, even the things that are invalid. Also, when employees get phishing campaigns from our team and they do the right thing with them, we let them know, hey, you didn't take the bait. Great job from that perspective. So I think we try to encourage the right behaviors. We also, though, have checks. We have people that repeat clicks. And if they repeat clicks, they get training again the next month. And then if they repeat them again, we talk to their managers and have a conversation. We've not gone as far yet to put it into performance reviews or evaluation. But there's probably a thought about that down the road, especially if you have folks that just don't seem to get it.
Avi, if people don't do as they're supposed to, should you take ownership as the security leadership and security team, or are you going to pass the buck back to the people because they're the weakest link and they're just not listening?
That's a fantastic question, Sanjog. I think, in my own opinion, it's all about leadership and the support for the process. So within the city, for example, when we send out this training, we also track completion rate, and also we also track completion rate for the leaders as well. So my peers are the city division heads and also our senior executive teams as well, including the councillors. We track completion rate for training and awareness, and we deal with all those behaviors in terms of people not completing their trainings or not exhibiting the behaviors we want at the very top, because then that drives the behaviors of everybody within those areas as well. Because once the end users see that the leadership is also being held responsible and accountable for how seriously they take cybersecurity or information security, then it helps them to understand that the corporation takes this very seriously and shapes their behavior as well. So we use those tactics to get people to comply. And we also call out and reward best behaviors in terms of the completion rate, the first divisions to reach 100%, for example. And those are some of the soft tactics that I believe will always help the users, because we always have to lead with empathy. And at the end of the day, the business needs to run and also make profit for private sector and public sector. We have to provide services. So those are some of the ways or tactics we've deployed to manage people to ensure that they comply with some of the things we roll out.
So Abi mentioned, so this is a question for you, John. Abi said we have to lead with empathy, but a CISO gets fired if there is a breach. The equation doesn't seem balanced. How do we balance it?
Not all CISOs get fired if there's a breach. It's a culture thing, and I've been to plenty of organizations that the CISO, he's an empathetic leader, as Ali mentioned. He's involved. He works collaboratively across the business. He's a part of the success. So I don't know that they all get fired, but I think that you have to focus. You have to remember that your employees are playing an essential role in the company. We have a lot of technical controls in place. We protect the borders with firewalls and intrusion prevention systems. But some of these attacks get through. They prey on the weakness of our folks, and it's going to happen. So we encourage our folks to play a role in protecting the company. We keep them aware as much as possible without trying to overdo it. Oversaturation could be a bad thing. We empower them so they can feel like they're part of a solution. They are the first to spot an attack sometimes. And the ones that do get through, they're first to spot them, and then they're the first that can help us mitigate them by unplugging them from the wall or turning off their Wi-Fi. So they play a huge role. We treat them as partners in the cybersecurity world. I hate that. I wish we didn't have to. I wish that they didn't have to think twice about cybersecurity, but we're not there yet. I think we will get there eventually. But they're still prey to the tactics of the malicious actors out there. And every employee needs to be empowered and feel they're part of the solution.
James, how much influence can you exert on the executive management so that they also take ownership, if not co-ownership along with you, if people are the weakest link and that is causing the issue? Or should they just stay out of it and let you do your thing?
I think we get great support, as John here, from leadership. That's one of the reasons the point that we made earlier was really important. And what we've had for our program from leadership has been really important. And they're willing to call things out. And they're also, if we provide them with the right data, they're happy to share that with the team. The more you can slice and dice your data across your organization, figure out where you might have issues, challenges, or where the culture is just not where it needs to be at from a situational awareness perspective, we can target those areas. And if we see people targeting our finance group, we'll jump on their next global town hall meeting. We'll have a conversation about here's what's happening in your space. These threats are real. Just a reminder to do things differently and to do better.
So one is to point that out to the finance leader. Another is for them to take ownership of saying that my team will step up and they will do what's needed, and they will meet the standards and benchmarks that you're establishing for the whole organization, and our team will meet. So are they stepping up, or they just say, okay, we have all our support?
I think they're definitely stepping up and they're definitely owning the conversation and helping to drive this home for our teams. Getting 30 minutes on a global finance town hall meeting, it's a big ask. And so when they schedule us for those conversations, we've been great speakers with great content. We're a very sought after group to have come present at these meetings. If we want to show up, they want us to be there because people are listening and asking great questions.
Abhi, when you built the programs, and this is not something new that we're talking, right? Yeah, digital only made things complicated. How do you go ahead and improve things on incremental basis? You said continuous improvement, right? So that is always there. But continuous improvement means continuous investments. Does it give you continuous return? Especially when the landscape is changing, the things are getting more complex. So does your continuous improvement and investment just help you keep your head above water, or you're able to swim?
That's a fantastic question. I think being in the public service as a municipality, we frequently audited. We have a very active Auditor General's office who has been helping us to shape us and, of course, be able to swim the way we are swimming today. So we do measure ourselves and our success very frequently, and we do pivot because we have to stay nimble in the environment where we operate. So our cyber awareness program, we have very good partners working with us in terms of shaping the program. And the content is frequently changing as well as the threat landscape also changes as well. So we have dedicated content for different parts of the city administration as well. And that helps us to keep things fresh and also help us to also measure in terms of the performance as well. So we have internal measurement, we have external audits that goes on every time. And in the last 2 years, according to one of our external auditors, the maturity level for the cybersecurity at the city has almost doubled in terms of the attention we're paying, especially to the human element of cybersecurity. So yes, we are measuring all those metrics, and yes, we can also improve as well, but it takes a lot of time. Investment is required. So the continued support of the executive committee, and in our case, the council as well, is what helps us to move forward in this way.
If I could add on to Abby's great statement there, we also built a cybersecurity strategy fairly recently, within 6 months ago, a 6-year strategy. But we also added a reassessment every 2 years because of that very facts that Abby was saying, that things are changing. So we have to take a look. So when we did present it to our board of trustees, we informed them about that we were going to relook at this. So any investments we make or plan to make could change over in a 2-year period or a 1-year period even. We see new technologies coming all the time. The bad actors are getting trickier and having better tactics to get through the technology even. So we think that I just wanted to add that the reassessment every couple years is important.
Now, as part of the topic, we did say that how can you take the current state where we say people are the biggest link and making them biggest strength? That's quite a leap or quite a shift, right? John, if you had that magic formula, would you like to share of how do you go 180 degrees?
Sure. I have this conversation. I've had this conversation about this very topic with my colleagues in the information security office here quite often. I have a belief, I have a faith that within 10 years, we'll be able to reduce a lot of the responsibility off our users. But I do hear the opposition and rightly, that the humans will always have that sense of trust and empathy and care and concern of others, that they will fall for scams and flim-flams as we go down the road. But one of the great suggestions I heard was we need to start teaching critical thinking from an early age. Not necessarily a magic formula that we can turn on right this second, but it's a proven foundation in shaping behaviors. We teach kids how to be polite, about manners, starting very early for them to learn that. It's unfortunate, but now we have to maybe consider teaching them about being cautious with technology, with communications, with the detection of suspicious or scamming type emails or chats or communications. They spend a lot of time on social media, these young kids these days, being prepared for that not everybody is an honest person they're talking to. Unfortunately, it has to start earlier. I think teaching critical thinking from an early age is key. Ensuring that the employees' vigilance is key. We talked about reinforcing that to them, since they're the first to spot attacks in many cases. They need to be empowered to be made to feel part of the solution. And I think it goes back to the basics of awareness in maintaining a culture of sharing, maintaining relationships, getting to know them, getting to know their business model, their business objectives, so that we can apply cybersecurity to their worlds and not force them into our world.
James, if you had to dream up, what would you think is a future state of security where people are actually your greatest strengths? First of all, do you buy that? And if yes, what's the roadmap to that dream state?
I think anything's possible, especially with the technology and machine learning. There's a lot of things that can happen and anything you do improve, but our adversaries will continue to pivot, right? You build a taller wall, they build taller ladders. It's just the way the world works. From our standpoint, at least my standpoint of Deere, number one is you have to hire great people who are passionate about this topic, right? If you have people that are passionate about something, then coming to work is fun and easy for them, and they love driving this into our culture. Secondly, I would tell you it's about investing. So make sure you're picking the best tool, that you're really thinking through the measurements that you can leverage to drive the behaviors you're looking for. We spend a lot of time, like I said, figuring out what the right metrics should be and how we're going to measure this as a company. And then I think the last thing is just be persistent. Like, you can't keep changing strategies. I think in security, quickly when the next technology comes out, we've had ADHD, if you will, a little bit around some of those technologies and the latest and greatest tools. We have managed to leverage and build some things internally, but also just stay persistent in what we're doing and continue to report these things to the right level so that then they can the framework that we use.
Abhi, if the CISOs today and the step-up candidates for CISOs who are trying to become the leaders for tomorrow, what muscles should they start building if they want to really shift the way the security game is played, the way the adversaries attack us, and the way we solve it? But since we are talking culture, we're talking about all the softer things which needs to change because other technology and other things will be morphing in due course. What new styles you would like CISOs to embrace, the mindset they should embrace, which will get us there?
For CISOs and also CISOs who are people who are aspiring into those positions in the future, I think it's imperative for us to start speaking the business language and learning the business that we serve. It's extremely important because most people within the business, they see us cyber folks as techies. Most times CISOs want to talk about the technical metrics, and all the business cares about is how many hours of outage have I had in my business due to a cybersecurity incident? That is basically what they're asking us. And so I think it's important. We need to learn more of the business. We need to show up in the same language, speak the same language as the business. And I'll give you an example. In one of my past roles, we had a situation where we had to build a strategy and roadmap for our operational technology area. So we're talking about engineers who work in fields. Some of them were offshore as well. And the only way to get them to even listen and buy into that cybersecurity strategy was getting on a plane, going to meet them on site, wearing a coverall like them, and eating the same lunches with them, and having proper conversation around their production numbers, what their biggest worries are, until we're able to communicate the same way. I think as we go into the future, this is going to be more important because the combination of business and technology in the future, you will not be able to separate technology from the business. So technology leaders such as CISOs need to start speaking business language.
John, what help do you and or any fellow CISOs need to be able to do their job?
We need more podcasts like this, Sanjay. I really appreciate.
Thank you.
Really, yes, I'm serious. This is really, these kind of informational things have been key in myself learning the trade, but I think it helps others as well. I think I'll say two things. One is agree 100% with Avi on learning the business objectives. You have to do that. We have to fall into their world. And number two is relationship building. You have to get out there. A CISO has to get out there and meet the players, the senior level leadership, middle management of all the divisions, all the organizations across the institutions, across the companies, across the business. To do the number one that Abby said, you have to do number two. You have to get to know them. They have to know you as well. So they know who to call, that they feel comfortable calling you, that they feel comfortable calling your team. Get your team out there to meet everybody. I think those are the two of the things that are key. So these podcasts, the sharing of information, and maintaining collaborative relationships.
So James, final question for you. If there's any self-diagnostics a CISO had to do and the specific blind spots they may have today, which ones would those be which they should proactively fix for them to be able to transform from people being the weakest link to becoming the greatest strengths?
I think that for really concrete questions, we use that. From my perspective, we try to hire people in our blind spot, people that are passionate about this work, that are willing to take risks and do different things. Two examples here. You think about the escape room. When I first heard the idea, I was kind of like, how's this going to work? We took the risk, and it worked out really well for our organization. We had a lot of folks that really enjoyed the activity, and it was a great way to teach our employees about security. Another one that we've been doing, and it was really a risky thing initially, was we call them teachable points of view. So when we have a near miss as things happen, we'll actually schedule a call with the engineers across the company, and we'll walk them through what happened and how it happened and why this is such a critical thing to be aware of going forward. So I think the blind spots we have sometimes is just doing things that we've always done them. And so we need people around us that are willing to challenge us, ask really good questions. And I think also I'll just also add that about sharing best practices. This podcast is awesome. We're all playing the demonstrator. So it's important that I think we speak about these things as CISOs, as security teams, and continue to learn from each other about what's working and what's not and how we can improve.
Once again, thank you so much, Abby, James, and John, for sharing your insights about how we can turn people who could be considered as weakest link into the greatest strength and make sure that cybersecurity becomes the very foundation for an organization which wishes to grow and does so confidently. Thanks so much again.
Thank you.
And listeners, please connect with us on social media. Subscribe to our podcast. Hopefully you got some nuggets. Once again, this is Sanjog All, your host, signing off. Till next week, take care and God bless.